Lockport.
Human bones found buried behind a house have been positively identified as the remains of Connie Gaudet, who disappeared almost 8 years ago. Mike Ross reports tonight that investigators still don't know how Gaudet died or who buried her next to her own home.
A cold rain fell on the site where the grisly discovery was made last Friday. LSU experts confirmed last night that the human bones found buried here are the remains of Connie Gaudet. The news just confirmed what Connie's family had suspected since she vanished nearly 8 years ago.
Just hope that we can find out what happened to her and we can finally put her in a resting place like a normal person, not like an animal like she has been.
What I want now is justice for whoever did it to her. And I'm sure somebody has done it to her because, like Dina was saying, she didn't bury her own self.
Even though we know for sure now that Connie Gaudet was buried here, there are still many unanswered questions about this mystery. How did Connie die? The exact cause of death won't be determined by experts for another 2 to 4 weeks, if ever. Who wrote the letter supposedly from Connie that said her husband Dale was not to blame for her disappearance and that she had run off with another man? Connie's former co-workers at Baudouin Supermarket never believed that story.
I always did feel like, she had, hadn't ran away. The way she felt, toward her kids,
We had discussed it and talked about it and theorized, but actually being able to solve this mystery that has went for so long is just too good to be true.
The Lafourche Sheriff's Office does not anticipate an arrest warrant until the cause of death is determined. Dale Gaudet is still not considered a suspect, but investigators plan to interview him again. Connie's family is worried now about the safety and welfare of her 2 children, Melissa and Stacy, now ages 12 and 10, who are reportedly still with Dale and his family.
For 8 years they've been dealing with their mama left them. Now they have to deal with their mama's dead. Their mama was murdered.
So the key questions remain unanswered. How did Connie Gaudet die? And who buried her in her own backyard? In Lockport, I'm Mike Ross, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
And late this afternoon, Dale Gaudet declined comment about the discovery of his wife's remains. Gaudet says he wants to consult with an attorney before making any statements.
Good evening. More than 8 years after she had been reported missing, a murder indictment tonight in the Connie Gaudet case.
The suspect, the former Lockport woman's husband. Mike Ross reports from Thibodaux.
Dale Gaudet, got a warrant for your arrest for second-degree murder.
Dale Gaudet was taken into custody shortly after the indictment was issued. Gaudet is now accused of murdering his wife Connie, who vanished mysteriously back in 1984.
We feel pretty good that they come up with an indictment on him, so now we're just going to have to wait for the court actions to see what's going to happen now.
Connie's family says Dale has claimed for years that he didn't know what happened to his wife when she vanished. But last November, Connie's skeletal remains were found buried in the backyard of their former home near Lockport, ending years of speculation about what really happened to her. Experts who examined her remains concluded that Connie died from a blow to the head. After hearing from several witnesses, it took a grand jury less than half an hour to indict Gaudet.
The charge was for second degree. Is there any reason why it wasn't first degree?
That was the law in existence in 1984 at the time of the disappearance. And I really, at this time, I'm not at liberty to say anything else about the case other than the grand jury has returned its indictment today.
Connie Gaudet's family says they're relieved the case is moving forward. Dale Gaudet wouldn't comment tonight, but he has said in the past that he did not kill his wife. Dale Gaudet will go before a bond hearing tomorrow morning, and his lawyer says he's going to enter a not guilty plea to the murder charge. At the Lafourche Parish Jail, I'm Mike Ross, Eyewitness News Night Watch.
And for
Today in the trial of Dale Gaudet, who's accused of killing his wife, then burying her body in a rose garden. Mike Ross is covering the trial and joins us now from the newsroom. Mike?
John, prosecutors say they will prove that Gaudet used murder to get out of a troubled marriage and to retain custody of his 2 children. The defense claims there's no direct proof that Dale did it.
Comment at this time.
Dale Gaudet plans to take the witness stand in his own defense.
I have no comment at this time.
The prosecution claims Gaudet was anything but a faithful and loving husband. In opening arguments, prosecutors said Gaudet murdered his wife Connie back in 1984 because he was having a sexual affair with another woman whom he later married. The prosecution said, quote, Dale had found someone new. He wanted her. There was but one way. Connie had to go. Dale allegedly buried his wife's body in a rose garden next to their house. The prosecution says 2 neighbors will testify that they saw Dale digging a knee-deep hole where Connie's skeletal remains were later found.
We hope to call approximately 7 witnesses this afternoon, and all total we plan on calling approximately 40 witnesses in the trial.
Connie's disappearance remained a mystery in Lockport for years. Prosecutors said today that Dale made a critical mistake in 1991 when he sold the house. New owners discovered Connie's remains while installing a new septic tank. Later in the trial, the jury will be taken to the site where the bones were found. Gaudet's defense lawyer argues that the evidence is all circumstantial.
Do you think your client can get a fair trial in this area with all the pretrial publicity?
Well, of course, that's the basis of the change of venue motion. We don't feel that he could, although I must say I was heartened by the response of the jurors in their ability to be fair in the case.
Alcock wanted the trial moved out of Lafourche Parish, but today State Judge Sidney Ordon turned him down.
While some of the jurors may have read about the case, that certainly they were fair and impartial, and that they would be able to reach a decision based upon the evidence presented in court. I'm very satisfied with that. So was the court.
Now, the jury may have a very tough chore tomorrow. If the judge allows, prosecutors say they will bring Connie Gaudet's skeletal remains into the courtroom on a stretcher for the jury's inspection and to allow experts to explain how she was killed. Angela?
Thank you, Mike.
That he murdered his wife and buried her in the garden of their home. As News 8's Dion Floyd reports, a lot of people were on hand today to hear what Gaudet said while he was on the hot seat.
The lines outside the Lafourche Parish Courthouse started forming hours before the trial was to begin. For the past week, the proceedings have drawn almost everyone's interest here in Thibodaux. These people all want to know, did Dale Gaudet murder his wife, Connie, and bury her body in their yard? Many of these folks are interested in seeing this matter put to rest once and for all. They want to hear Gaudet's testimony for themselves, even though some have already formed their own opinions about the case.
I really hope deep down in my heart that the truth will prevail and he will be found guilty of this crime, because I really believe he did it.
Mr. Gaudet, how do you feel about the case at this point?
I have no comment right now.
But Gaudet had to talk about the case while in court today. He was put on the stand to testify. He maintained his wife disappeared on February 18th, 1984. He says probably with a lover. He describes this phone conversation with her the day he says she left. She basically said that she'd left. She needed time to think over things. I said, "How did you leave?" She said she left with a friend. After the trial wrapped up, here's what one spectator had to say.
If he didn't do it, well, how did that body get in that yard? Had she been murdered and the body found some other place, I'd have said okay, but who's going to hurt a woman and go in her yard and bury her?
So you didn't believe him?
No, I don't.
The Gaudet trial continues tomorrow with final arguments. In Thibodaux, Dion Floyd, WVUE, News 8.
Circulation at the Daily Common is normally 12,000, but it's increasing.
This is the biggest trial, obviously, that's hit Thibodaux probably in the last 25 years. And the sensational nature of the trial, obviously, has led to the crowds that have come to the courthouse. We're selling a few extra newspapers, and I'm sure the business office appreciates that a little bit more. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of attention in the paper. People are waiting for the paper to come out.
But the notoriety may soon die down now that the jury has the case. The district attorney cannot wait for it to be over.
It's been a lengthy one in terms of preparation, both in advance of trial and of trial. And all I can tell you is I hope the jury comes back quickly.
To give you an idea of what we were talking about, of how popular, if you will, this case has been in this town, there are people right now sitting inside the courtroom on the 3rd floor who are sitting waiting on the jury to come back. It may take 6 hours, maybe, who knows? And they're staying in their seats because the court has a line outside the courtroom, and if you leave, somebody replaces your seat. Of course, right now, again, hanging in the balance the fate of Dale Gaudet. The charge is second-degree murder, but the jury could come back and convict him of a lesser charge. We, of course, are waiting on that verdict, and when we have it, you'll have it. Reporting live from Thibodaux, Rick Blaylock.
Friends of the victim hope this finally resolves a tragic mystery that haunted the small town of Lockport for nearly a decade.
Dale Gaudet was led off to jail in handcuffs. It took the jury less than 2.5 hours to convict him of second-degree murder. For the family of Connie Gaudet, the guilty verdict was a bittersweet victory.
I think justice has been served. We waited a long time for it, and it's finally come.
What are your emotions right now?
I guess relief, sadness.
The defense had argued that the state had failed to prove that Dale had killed his wife, Connie, back in 1984.
It was a circumstantial case from the beginning, and we felt that the proof was lacking, and the verdict should have been not guilty. So we're disappointed, naturally. Of course, there's the prospect of an appeal, but I haven't discussed that with my client to this point.
But the prosecution argued that no one but Dale could have buried Connie's body in the side yard of their former home near Lockport. The jury apparently agreed with the prosecution's charge that Dale covered up the murder for 7 years. Connie's remains were accidentally uncovered in 1991.
That's what it was. There was no one else but Dale Gaudet from the evidence presented that could have committed this crime. There was no one else, and the jury understood that.
I'm especially thankful for the family of Connie Gaudet, that they now have the satisfaction of knowing who was responsible for their loved one's death.
Connie's family says they will now try to protect the couple's 2 daughters, now ages 11 and 13, who have been in their father's custody since their mother disappeared.
Nothing will bring her, but now we have to work with her girls, do what she would want for the girls. And now our main concern is to help the girls recover from this tragedy.
The verdict may help end the ordeal for the family of Connie Gaudet. But for Dale Gaudet, the jury's decision begins a new ordeal. Life in prison without any chance for parole. I'm Mike Ross, Eyewitness News, Night Watch.
35-year-old Dale Gaudet still insists he didn't do it, but the victim's family is convinced justice has been done.
Last month, the jury ended the mystery surrounding Connie Gaudet's disappearance 9 years ago. That jury deciding her husband Dale killed her, buried her in a garden next to their home, then masterminded a cover-up. Connie's sister sensed from the start that Gaudet was guilty.
We only wish that we had Connie with us. If only we had known the things that were going on before she disappeared, we could have helped, and maybe this wouldn't have happened. But it's really a burden to carry that for so long.
Landry was surprised as Gaudet's attorney asked the judge to let the convicted murderer out on bond pending appeal.
Given his total cooperation over the years, I felt strongly that bail should have been granted.
A motion for a new trial was also denied. Gaudet simply said, "No, sir," as Judge Ordone asked him if he'd have anything to say before the life sentence was handed down. But he had plenty to say to us as he left the courtroom.
I'd like to thank all of the people who supported me, my family, my friends, my fiance, all of the people who have been sending me cards and letters, people I don't know, wishing me best of luck.
What about your girls?
My girls will be fine, and I know God will get me out of this.
Connie's family hasn't yet decided whether to fight for custody of the couple's 2 children, who they say are doing well, considering. With photographer Tim Harland in